What's up, Slater Crusaders? Glad you're here. Take a little breather from impeachment talk here for a minute because there's other stuff happening in the world, believe it or not. The World Economic Forum is taking place right now in Davos. So this is when the world's billionaires and top movers and shakers, they gather in the Alps in Switzerland to tell you how you're doing it wrong. This is Walter Russell Mead in the Wall Street Journal. He said there's something inescapably ridiculous about a gathering this self-important. Certainly Marie Antoinette and her friends dressing up as shepherdesses to celebrate the simple life has nothing on the more than 100 billionaires descending, often by private jet, on an exclusive Swiss ski resort for 4 days of ostentatious hand-wringing about the problems of the poor and the dangers of climate change. This year, an earnest young aide at registration told me that to reduce the event's carbon footprint, no paper maps of the town were being distributed. One could almost feel the waves of relief from the nearby alpine glaciers at the sign of green progress. So we're flying in private jets, but no paper maps. Whew, thank goodness. Alas, there is a massive sea change. Really, no pun intended, that was bad. Let me change that. There's a massive change of tone going on at Davos because the world has been moving in the direction of globalization. And now it's moving in the direction of nationalism or populism. Not good if you're a globalist. I think it's just fine. But if you're a globalist, this is not a good trend. Here's a little taste of Trump's speech at Davos.
When I spoke at this forum 2 years ago, I told you that we had launched the great American comeback. Today, I'm proud to declare that the United States is in the midst of an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen before. We've regained our stride, rediscovered our spirit, and reawakened the powerful machinery of American enterprise. America is thriving, America is flourishing, and yes, America is winning again like never before.
Now, he's not talking about how great the world's economy is. He's telling everyone there how great America is, America first. Now, I should admit, he wasn't all America first. He did say that America is signing up for the Trillion Trees Initiative. Whatever that is, sounds dumb, but a major part of the globalist vision is climate change. So Trump threw them a bone a little bit, like, okay, we'll plant 1 trillion trees or whatever that is. But climate change, by the way, makes a lot of sense if you're a globalist. Right? That's why those things align very nicely together. If you want the world to lower its carbon emissions to prevent us from drowning or burning up or whatever the latest claim is, then you need massive shifts of power from national governments to global institutions. Actually, I should switch that around. If you want massive shifts of power, that's the point. Actually, I got that backwards. If you want massive shifts of power from national governments to global institutions, then climate change is perfect. That's your bag, right? Because you're like, oh, well, we need global treaties and global initiatives, and we got to bring everyone together. Yeah, that's it. That's a global warming. Really, it's a bad thing. Got to bring everyone together, right? That's what it's all about. It's about propping up these global institutions. Yesterday, follow the money and the power, always. Yesterday, or a couple days ago, we talked to one of the editorial board members of the Orange County Register here in Southern California about homelessness in California. And she's like, don't fall for all this. It's all about money and power. It's a government-caused problem to get more money and power. And it's very simple. Homelessness gets worse. So politicians come out and say, hey, you got to pass this multi-billion-dollar tax increase. And the voters naively do it every single time. And then the politicians give billions of dollars to developers to build apartment complexes for low-income or homeless people at $700,000 a pop. And then they kick back some big money to the politicians' campaign funds. It is a beautifully corrupt system, right? It's so clear, it's so obvious, and it's so corrupt, and it's all for money and power. So is all this global warming nonsense to the folks at Davos. There's no true believers there, right? To quote Glenn Reynolds, he says, I'll start acting like global warming is a crisis when the people who keep telling me it's a crisis start acting like it's a crisis. And I mean more than not using paper maps or plastic straws. Which brings us to Greta. Now, not gonna go into a whole Greta analysis here of how the left holds her up as a type of human shield, shielding them from any criticism or questioning. Oh, but the child, listen to the child. How dare you attack the child? We don't have time today for Nassim Taleb's analysis of pedophistry, which is when you make an argument for the children. You hold up the poor and the defenseless children, and you do that to prey on people's maternal and paternal instincts to get them to suspend all critical thinking. Not gonna do any of that. But here she is scolding you. Now she starts off saying, she's like, I was here last year telling you that our house is on fire, and our house is still on fire. Here she is.
We don't want these things done by 2050, 2030, or even 2021. We want this done now. Unlike you, my generation will not give up without a fight. The facts are clear, but they are still too uncomfortable for you to address. You just leave it because you think it's too depressing and people will give up. But people will not give up. You are the ones who are giving up. I wonder, what will you tell your children was the reason to fail and leave them facing a climate chaos that you knowingly brought upon them? That it seemed so bad for the economy that we decided to resign the idea of securing future living conditions without even trying? Our house is still on fire. Your inaction is fueling the flames by the hour. And we are telling you to act as if you loved your children above all else. Thank you.
And then everyone applauds. That's the weirdest thing is when people applaud that, right? She's like, you are all terrible people. Thank you. Yeah, we're terrible. Great job. Like, what is up with that? Plus, that's pretty meta too, right? So you have the kid being propped up to shield the activist behind her, to shield the activist of criticism, but she herself is holding up children as a shield to criticism. Act like you love your children.